Could a killer asteroid be hurling towards Earth?
You serious, sir? Do you really think the world's going to end this afternoon?
Yes, in just over 3 minutes and 5 seconds.
Well, isn't there anything we can do?
No, nothing.
I always thought we were supposed to lie down or put a paper bag over your head or something.
Yes, if you like.
Hold that out.
No, excuse me, I've got to go.
So the world is about to end. Just enough time to say thanks to my amazing members and patrons. I want to give massive thanks to all of my supporting members and patrons. Thank you all so very much. Hopefully there's still enough time for you to become a subscriber, a member or a patron before the world does end. I think we need someone to tell us all about it.
Thomas Horn is a prolific author and the CEO and co-host of Skywatch TV.
Skywatch? Cool. We're going to get some astronomical science then.
Known for in-depth reporting on prophecy, conspiracies, and the supernatural.
Oh, for fuck.
His recent research covers a subject he says is strange and scary.
And, I would hazard a guess, slightly profitable.
The Wormwood Prophecy is Horn's latest book, which thoroughly examines Bible prophecy, a known asteroid, and the impact it could have on all of us.
Primarily, his bank account.
Talk a little bit, if you will, about the dream you had last year about an asteroid.
Dream? I thought this was some scientific discovery of yours.
It was the most vivid dream that I've ever had. It was frankly frightening.
Top tip. Don't eat strong cheese just before you go to bed.
Sure.
I found myself on a mountain running with thousands of other people and an asteroid descending down towards the Earth.
Good plan. Let's outrun that asteroid.
When I woke from that dream, and by the way, I have a history with this that goes back to when I died.
Can you run that by us again?
It goes back to when I died.
Is it?
Many years ago, and my wife found me dead. No heartbeat, no pulse. She tried to resuscitate me.
But that was okay. So you just spent a year dead for tax reasons.
And that, at the same time, I saw myself standing in front of a brilliant light somewhere. Somehow in my mind, I knew that I was standing before God. I knew that he had told me some things and then said, you're not going to remember.
But somehow you have remembered, so you've written a book.
Several times incidents have happened in which I go to bed, I go back to that place, I see things, when I wake up I write them down, and so far they have come to pass every time.
Except, I'm willing to hazard a guess, for this time.
But when I woke up from that vision, sat up in bed, in fact I almost fell out of bed, and a single word seemed to be whispered.
Money.
And that was the word Apophis.
Oh.
Now, I knew that there was an ancient Egyptian god of chaos, a chaos dragon, the enemy of light, called Apophis. I also knew that NASA had named a particular asteroid Apophis.
Oh dear.
Interesting.
But I didn't know anything about it, so when I got out of bed, I went to my computer.
Checked out some conspiracy websites.
And I started immediately doing research into the asteroid Apophis. One thing led to the other. Ultimately, it led to the writing of the book.
And an improvement to my bank balance.
And I became convinced that NASA and other international space agencies are involved in a cover-up.
Why is it always NASA and not the local whist group or the Women's Institute?
How did you link this to Revelation 8? What was the connection there?
Tenuously is the word I think he should be using.
Well, Revelation 8 describes, actually the first four of the trumpet judgments seem to be describing the different aspects of a singular event. The first one describes fire falling down from the heavens, catching the fields and trees on fire, which is exactly what would precede the incoming of a giant asteroid, the incoming debris.
No, the first thing you'll get is blinding light and a massive pressure wave as the asteroid hurtles in at several thousand miles an hour.
The second one describes what appears to be a burning mountain that falls into the ocean and wipes out ships.
Wipes out ships? If it hits the ocean in a very large area will be vaporized.
But the third one, it calls wormwood. And this too is like a giant mountain burning like a lamp that falls down, has the effect of poisoning a third of the Earth's water.
Well, with all the effects of the pressure wave, the blinding light, the fires, the tsunamis, the earthquakes, I think a bit of dodgy water is going to be the least of your problems.
And then the fourth trumpet, the sun, the moon, the stars are a third part blacked out, which is exactly what would happen with all the debris kicked up into the atmosphere from the impact of a giant asteroid.
So to sum up, it's basically going to be a pretty crap day.
President Trump has a newly formed Space Force, I guess it's called. What's the cover-up that you think is involved in all of it?
The primary reason of the Space Force is mitigation of near-Earth asteroids.
The US Space Force is absolutely nothing to do with near-Earth objects. And anyway, what exactly do you expect them to do about it? There are two suggested ways of dealing with an asteroid on a collision course to Earth. One is to nudge its orbit slightly. The other is to try and blow it to smithereens. The problem with that is all the energy is still there. You're just going to disperse it over a wider area.
You go in, we're touching the surface of this, you go into a great deal of the scientific aspect of all of this, but
I beg to differ.
you say really that it's not possible to mitigate some of these asteroids because of the size that they are. I mean, there's nothing that really can be done.
Well, slap my ass and call me Shirley, if that isn't just what I said.
That's right. Well, Apophis, for instance, is the one that I focus on in the book. It was discovered in 2004 at the Kitt Peak National Observatory. And at the time, NASA and their NEOWISE team felt that it did have enough of a risk of impacting the Earth.
Yes. Back in 2004, based on only a few observations at the time, they predicted a 2.7% probability of the asteroid striking the Earth in 2029. Doesn't look like they were covering it up, really, does it?
And by the way, of all dates, Friday the 13th.
The Book of Revelations was written in around the year 96. And back then they didn't use the Gregorian calendar. So any predictions would not have panned out to be Friday the 13th.
2029, so 9 years from right now.
That's right. You're trying to flog your book in the year 2020. There was a 2.7% chance of impact in 2029 based on the earliest observations, but that had been eliminated by December the 27th, 2004.
Oh, you tit! I saw my arm and I was so scared.
So why are you still saying it's going to hit?
And so they began doing studies around it. Eventually, though, they changed their mind. They said it's going to come very close to the Earth, but it's not going to hit the Earth.
Bingo.
Except I talked to one of my friends at NASA and another gentleman at the Pentagon that Colonel McGinnis put me in contact with, an impact specialist. And they said, if you look at what NASA is saying, they're saying that in 2029 it's going to come so close to the Earth, Apophis is, that it's going to take out the satellites that are in orbit around this planet.
Here's an animation from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory showing the path that Apophis takes on its closest approach in 2029. Thankfully, it's rare for such a large asteroid to be passing so close to Earth. It passes within the distance of some of the outer geosynchronous satellites, but it's not going to take them all out.
And they're the ones that are saying you can't possibly say that a rock this big, traveling 28,000 miles per hour, it weighs an estimated 20 million metric tons. If it hit the Earth, it's going to be a
Bit of a bummer, really.
If it hit the Earth, it's going to be equivalent to 65,000 of the bombs that we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of World War II. It could literally crack the mantle of the Earth.
But I've got a sneaking suspicion it wouldn't be able to crack the dome of your head.
They're saying that traveling through tens of thousands of miles of space could, all kinds of things, other debris could deflect its trajectory, and I believe that it is set to impact the world.
Based on what? Its current path is known based on observation and orbital mechanics. The only way for it to change, as you said, could be if it's hit by some debris. Well, where is this debris? Have you seen it? Do you know that the debris is going to strike it? If not, you are just making stuff up.
See, Thomas, talk to me a little bit about what people can do with regard to this if something so big could be so catastrophic.
Well, this is me at the Barringer Crater. That's Meteor Crater, Arizona. That was estimated to be about 4.5 megatons explosive force. Apophis, were it to hit, is estimated to be 1,200 megatons. So you're going to need one hell of a strong umbrella and about factor 3,000 sunblock.
First of all, MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, published a paper just last week in which they said Apophis is a greater concern that is being admitted. There are top 100 scientists that say NASA is involved in a cover-up with regard to this.
Top 100 scientists say NASA's in a cover-up. Right.
Well, what can Christians do? Well, one thing
is to put your head between your knees and kiss your ass goodbye.
We can use it as an opportunity, because if it does turn out to be wormwood, which is what I personally believe,
then basically you're screwed. What sort of opportunity is that with half the world wiped out?
We can use it as an opportunity to preach the imminency of the second coming of Jesus Christ, because this would be what dispensationalists would call a mid-tribulation event.
Wouldn't it be nicer if God just went and puffed it out of existence and saved several billion lives?
So the second coming could be closer than what most people realize. The other thing is God himself can mitigate what man cannot.
So let me get this right. You're smiling with the thought that God might actually prevent this, when in fact it was him that put the asteroid there in the first place.
And in the Bible, there is a pattern where it says that these judgments are going to come. You can see Jonah going up and down the streets of Nineveh, right? This judgment is coming. But when from the pauper to the king, they repented in sackcloth and ashes, God delayed that judgment from coming against Nineveh.
I don't want to appear churlish, but one does feel a churl coming on. I never realised that sackcloth made such nice suits. Now, I think it's really disingenuous for you to produce a book like that and then go on TV flogging it when you know everything is going to be all right. You are just scaring people, and yet you had already admitted that in 2029 the calculated orbit shows that Apophis will not strike the Earth. Now, of course, Apophis is a near-Earth object, and it will come round again and again. Future passes have also been calculated. In 2036, the chance of it striking the Earth has been assessed as a fraction over 7 in a billion. And in another pass, in 2068, it's been calculated as 6.7 in a million. And in fact, cumulative chance of Apophis striking Earth by 2105 is about 9 in a million. So I humbly suggest that you do something more worthy with your time, more worthy than lying for Jesus and flogging books with fear. Unless, of course, you're right, in which case...
Oh, well then. Last orders, please.
Shut up and sit down.